TIFU by sticking spaghetti in my nipple. This happened a couple of hours and I'm still ashamed. I have had both of my nipples pierced for about 5 years but stupidly never got them downsized as I kept forgetting / couldn't get to the piercer etc. So unfortunately, I kept getting them caught on things, especially the left one, leading to a slightly misshapen nipple and a bar that sat too low and too shallow. Tonight I made the sad decision to finally retire lefty. I just couldn't stand the way it looked or the thought of possibly catching it again and tearing it clean out. I decided to get creative with my send-off. I took the bar in and grabbed a stick of raw spaghetti from the cupboard, trying to stick it into the hole left behind. This was uncomfortable and it wouldn't go in. But I didn't give up there. I was determined, so instead I grabbed a bottle of lube and rubbed a few drops on before trying again. Success. I spent about 5 minutes laughing to myself, took some pictures with the idea to send them to my boyfriend with the caption "Spaghetti Titty." Hilarious. I'd had my fun and now it was time to take it out. Crap, it was stuck. I tugged it, and then tugged it a little harder. Pain. I started to panic, rubbed more lube on and tried again. Didn't budge. So I decided to grab a pair of scissors and cut it as close to one side as possible so I had less to pull out. My hands are shaking. I cut the spaghetti and thankfully don't amputate my boob hat in the process. Give the spaghetti a quick, sharp tug and holy guacamole, it hurts, but it's over now. Currently icing it to take down any swelling. Don't stick pasta in your nips, kids. TLDR, stuck raw spaghetti in my empty nipple piercing. It got stuck. Had go wield scissors way too close for comfort. Now icing a sore, but empty nip. Crap, it was stuck. I started to panic. My hands are shaking. Her palms are sweaty. He's weak. Tits spaghetti. I did this once. I just had a hot shower and it slid right out afterwards. Lamau. Solution and a snack. Saw the scissors comment and thought you were going to cut it out. My nips inverted at the thought. I mean pics or it didn't happen. I'm just glad you're okay. That sounds hilarious though. Keep an eye on it for infection obviously. Good luck, love you gesture. Thank you. Definitely will be keeping it clean and keeping a close eye on it. TIFU by cutting off the blood supply to my lady parts. This morning I woke up and went to pee, just as I normally would. But when I went to take my panties off I felt a sharp tug right on my hood piercing. It kinda hurt, and I assumed the lace had just got caught around it during the night. I peed and wiped, that also hurt. So I went back to my bedroom to examine my goods and my hood around my piercing is bulging at me like something out of Alien. Checked around it and couldn't see anything so I give it a clean, which hurt, and carried on my merry way. Anyway, throughout my day at work it was getting more and more painful, and to relieve the friction by the end of the day I was walking not unlike John Wayne. When my boss asked if I was okay I made up some bullshit story about my back hurting. I don't know if he bought it but he pretended to and that's good enough for me. So after dropping my car sharer off, I phone my piercing salon and explain that I have a very well established hood piercing that I've had for about 3 months but it suddenly got super angry. She's all like, "I'm in, pal." So I do. I get there and whack my panties off and frog it on their piercing table, and the lassie takes a look and informs me, "Oh yeah, that's heckin' swollen." Like I know. So she starts taking the piercing out to have a look and the conversation went a bit like this. "Oh, I see what the problem might be." Me, "What?" "You've got a really long hair down here." Me, "Eh? I normally keep things tidy down there." "No, like a head hair, it's wrapped around the piercing, it's probably that's irritating it." Me, "Oh, alright, well that's embarrassing." "Wait, hang on." Me, "Holy shit, okay, so I absolutely know what the problem is." So it turns out that one of my long, thin head hairs had worked its way to my lady garden, wrapped itself around my hood with the most perfect slip knot you ever did see. I know this because after a bit of ouchies she pulled the hair off with a small pick, still intact. But because it was caught behind my piercing the only thing it could do was proceed to get tighter in an attempt to try docking my hood like a spaniel's tail. We were both so utterly confused. The relief was instant and now I know my clit isn't about to fall off, so I guess that's a double win for me. TLDR, got a hair wrapped around my lady hood until it swelled up like a bitch, that my piercer then had to remove. I was wearing a hoodie the other day and every so often it would feel like I had an itch on my ear. I'd scratch, it would stop. After the fourth time, I took the hoodie off to discover some of my girlfriend's hair in a little knot inside the hoodie and fucking with me for 2 hours. But every piece of clothing I own at least once per year. This is actually a common problem and danger for babies. They can get adult hair wrapped around their fingers or toes that cuts off the blood supply. Worst case is that they could cut off blood supply long enough for the finger or toe to die. 1. Glad you're okay. 2. Holy shit, this post was wild. This happened to me, but it was my GF long hair wrapped around the head of my dick. Babies lose their penises, toes and fingers this way. My mill told me that when he was a baby, one of her long hairs got wrapped around my husband's penis. They finally figured it out after he was crying and crying. She recommended doing a pecker check every time I changed my son's diaper. TIFU by basically mimicking my 1-year-old who puts everything in his mouth and thus nearly poisoning myself. This happened about 12 hours ago. We have some taro elephantia plants that we bring in every winter. One of them was getting leaves that were kinda out of hand. So I decided to trim them back to the stock to let some of smaller leaves have a shot as the big ones were obnoxiously huge. Post trim I'm looking at the stock and I think to myself, that looks like what aloe ooze looks like. Without skipping a beat, I mentioned to /u/player2 2016, I wonder what it tastes like. She doesn't even have a second to process my comment/question before I go tongue first to take a taste. Well, it tasted actually kinda sweet for like 10 seconds. And this is the first time in my life I thought I was gonna need an EpiPen. My tongue, my lips, my throat. Everything burned with a fiery fire of piercing needles. After some interwebbing, it turns out the sap is literal poison to the human system and if swallowed can result respiratory arrest and death. In hindsight, I probably should have gone to the doctor. I feel better now but a little messed up. Gnawing on a cold washcloth, eating some ice cream and an evening beer have helped. Still burns though. TL doctor, don't put your tongue on random things out of curiosity. It can result in a medical emergency. Here is the literal culprit. Well, at least your 1-year-old didn't decide to taste it. This is true. I'm glad I didn't do this in front of him. We've always kept all our plants well elevated out of reach and now I'm especially glad we've been doing this. I was debating tossing it after this debacle though. Still am. Did you learn nothing from the Tide Pods? See your doctor just in case. Also glad to hear it's out of reach of the little kiddo. There are old botanists, and then there are bold botanists. This is what I like to tell my botany students right before grabbing and eating a urarial, an ominously bright red looking berry that turns out to be the only part of the plant that won't potentially kill you. You should still go see a doctor. It could have damaged your liver or kidneys and you won't know about it until it's too late. After some further reading I think you'll be okay. Seems the biggest risk is that it causes your throat to swell and obstruct the airway and it looks like you are past that risk.